Hi. Like
Hello.
for real.
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I like your hat.
Thank you. It's a crown.
Happy
Giving
silver
hat.
anniversary for the how many days we've got or episodes.
Yeah. You too. Oh, you didn't do anything.
Quicksilver, and I have a
Okay.
grill.
Oh, oh, you do?
You want to see my grill? My what? Yeah, yeah, my grill. The whole top's diamond and the bottom roll's gold.
Gold.
Okay, I gotta take it out though.
You lose.
I've had it in for like 20 minutes.
Oh, you've been waiting that long.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay.
I had to add I added geodes to my crown. I got real extra. Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Oh, cute. Look at it.
Yep.
I like it.
Thank you.
Take a picture.
I'll tell you that I don't have babysitters. So Arya's here.
Oh, okay.
I can't really get rid of her. So
That's okay. I had silver earrings in too, but they effing hurt my ears.
go inside. Go inside. I even bribed the kids with money. I'm like, if you will just keep her inside, I'll give you money.
Mhm.
And as soon as I came outside, she came outside, and they haven't even noticed yet. And it's been 5 minutes.
Give her chalk. She
We
can.
don't have it.
Oh, dang. I was gonna say that'll keep her busy and quiet, maybe. It's fine. We'll work around it. We
Okay.
have kids. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Hold on.
welcome to
Sorry.
episode
I
25.
really got sorry, hold on. I really got to get rid of her because she's like under the table, about to knock everything over.
Okay.
Ow.
I made a little.
I love it. So what was your technique? How did you do it?
I ripped off a thing of aluminum foil, stuck
Uh-huh.
it to my head, and wrapped it around.
Hey, that works.
All right.
Nice. I like it.
Cooper, can you
My
go away?
hold on just a second. Okay. My big old rock right here. I was trying to take a picture of it and then like it just fell and like hit my nose. So I was like, you didn't.
Too bad you didn't get a video of it.
Well, I mean, it's on that. So,
Oh, that's true.
but anyway, so it's just this now. That's okay.
Oh, my text didn't send. I was like, I gotta go put makeup on.
Oh,
My face was making me sad. It didn't do much though, so
you look fine.
um,
You look fine.
well, it's really hot under here, but we're gonna make it happen.
Yep.
Um, welcome to episode 25. I
Yes.
um
Episode 25.
I was thinking that we could do an actual 1 year thing in October,
Yeah.
like whatever the tradition
Halloween
is for
season.
that. Because it's not 25 years, it's been 25 episodes. So I wonder if we could do the actual 1 year one, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Paper.
You. Okay.
On your first ever anniversary, paper represents the traditional gift. The threads within the paper symbolize the strength and connectivity of your blossoming relationship.
Is it 1 year from when we recorded though, or 1 year from when we released our first episode?
I'd say the 1 year episode, like October 3rd
Okay.
or whatever day it was.
Like the beginning of October.
Yeah.
Whatever, yeah, whatever that was. Um, okay.
Paper.
But 25 episodes, we made our silver episode, okay? And
Yeah.
look at us.
Look at us full of
if you're
silver.
if you're listening, I have myself fashioned a little tiara crown that has little geodes in it that I got from Dugway a couple years ago.
But
And
also looks like little alien ears.
yeah, they're like little, yeah, like little nubs.
And I half-assed it and wore a Quicksilver shirt. That's Josh's. And then really
That's
fast,
clever.
I ran into my kitchen and strapped some aluminum foil to my head.
Well,
So
and you had a grill to begin
I
with.
did have a grill that lasted only a minute,
Mm,
but
yeah.
it was there. You know, in middle school when we used to put freaking gum wrappers in your mouth to make you look like Lil Jon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so lame, isn't it? I don't
But,
know.
you know,
Little
times have
someone.
changed and children now don't do that.
Yeah, they're like cooler than we used to be.
What's up with that, really? I mean, I don't understand why that's even or how it's just not fair.
It's not.
They didn't even get an awkward stage, and it just is, or maybe the awkward stage happens earlier now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
I don't
know.
know. Well,
Well,
uh, so my story is might be kind of long. So it might end up being a two-parter. We'll
okay.
see. We'll see how it ends up. But like if I know you have plans and places to be, so if it gets too close, we'll cut me off and do
Okay.
two parts.
We'll figure it out.
What time do you
Um,
need to be like signing off?
Probably at least the latest is 12:15.
Okay. So we need to be at least recording our outro by 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's just jump into it then.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so my story is, let's see, I got a lot of my information from Murderpedia, Wikipedia, Deseret News, and mostly Deseret News, which I thought was weird. I was expecting way more stories on this, like more articles from different news outlets than just Deseret News.
Interesting.
Anyway,
Like Salt Lake Tribune and places like that. You didn't see
yeah,
anything?
I thought there would be Salt Lake Tribune. Like, I don't know when KSL TV started or KSL started, but
Hmm.
like, I really thought there would be more articles on it.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
surprised. Okay.
See what happens. I don't know.
On June 23rd, 1988, 11-year-old Charla King spent the day at the mall with her foster grandmother, Bertha Poster. Charla was so excited for her 12th birthday that was just the next day, and they'd be spending the day at Lagoon.
Okay.
Bertha dropped Charla off at her Washington Terrace apartment at 1:30 p.m. This is Washington Terrace is in Ogden. I don't know if
Okay.
I knew that, but
I didn't know that. No.
um, let's see.
Is that like a fancy community or something? Or
No, I think it's just like a little town within a city. I don't know. It's not like fancy.
got it.
Um, so she Bertha dropped her off at the apartment at 1:30 p.m., knowing that Charla's mother would be home from work soon.
Mm-hmm.
Charla's mother, Sharon King, returned from work about 3:20 p.m. She had been running late and she took the wrong way home because she thought it would be faster, and she ended up in she ended up in traffic. Um she walked in, she turned on the TV, and oh, sorry. She turned on the TV to watch a soap opera and then walked into her bedroom to change her work clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she walked into the bedroom only to find her 11-year-old daughter nude, uh, wrapped in a nightgown wrapped around her head and panties stuffed in her mouth.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Sharon said she started screaming and ran to a neighbor to get help and then immediately called 911. She was instructed to perform CPR, and in the process, she tilted her daughter's head back and discovered Charla had been strangled to death with a telephone cord. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sharon later said in an interview, she said, quote, "I don't think she wanted to come back. I think what happened to her was so horrible she couldn't deal with it."
Wow.
Um, as the
Um,
paramedics arrived and took Charla's body away, a police officer told Sharon that her daughter was dead. She knew in her heart already that that was the result.
mm-hmm.
Authorities started investigating Charla's rape and murder. And on June 25th, they got a call from a woman named Laurie Golly. She contacted the Washington Terrace police officer named Marcia Gather-Cole and informed her that her brother may have been involved. Her
Okay.
brother, his name is John Albert Taylor. Here's
Mm-hmm.
what John's all about. Let me just tell you about him for a second,
Okay.
and you can kind of see where she gathered this hypothesis.
Got it. Okay.
John Taylor was raised in Florida, where he was allegedly abused as a child and started getting involved in drugs as a teen. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't get along with his mother or his stepdad. They used him as a punching bag, basically.
No.
At the age of 13, he ended up stabbing his stepdad.
Oh
And
my
according
gosh.
to court records, he also repeatedly raped his sister, Lori, as well as other young girls in the area.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So his parents ended up committing him to a sex offender program. At the age of 17, he was diagnosed as a quote remorseless pedophile. So I don't understand, and
Why is he not in some kind of like juvie, you
that's
know?
so I was like, if your diagnosis is this, a remorseless
Yeah.
pedophile, don't you think that there'd be some way that they could like institutionalize him? Because like
Yeah.
they already know with this diagnosis that they'd be able to like, or he would do it again.
Right.
So at what point are they like, okay, well, go out in the world and good luck
Yeah.
to you?
Right.
I don't understand why they didn't put him in a psych ward or something. Cause like
Yeah. No,
state funds, I don't know. So in
yeah.
1977, at age 18, Taylor was charged with burglary and carrying a concealed weapon. After he was caught with the stolen gun, he was convicted and imprisoned and released 4 years later in December 1981.
Okay.
Only 3 months later, though, he was arrested in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for armed robbery, armed burglary, and sexual assault.
Oh my gosh.
So the difference between robbery and burglary, I guess, is like robbery is taking something with force and with fear, and
Hmm.
burglary is just like a sneaky
Oh,
stealing situation.
I didn't
Like,
know that.
yeah, I didn't know that either. I was like, I just thought it
Like
was
the
weird.
ham burglar
Yeah,
instead of the ham robber.
exactly. So he was acquitted of those charges, but was still sentenced to 15 additional years in prison for parole violations.
Hmm. Okay.
So, unfortunately, he only served like 6 of those years. of his sentence and was released in 1987, which is when he made his way to Utah to be with his sister and biological father.
Okay, so the timeline definitely matches.
Yeah, he literally only got to Utah 4 days before this girl
Mm,
was attacked. Okay.
so sad.
So this Taylor guy, his sister said to the authorities, "Hey, look into him. He just got to town. He's staying with his sister in in those same apartments.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, look into him, right?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the investigators did find fingerprints on the phone in the King's apartment that was used to strangle her. Okay.
Okay.
So the authorities in Fort Lauderdale provided the investigators in Utah with his fingerprints. So while they
Good. Everybody's working together.
yeah,
I like
but
this.
it is one of those things. I mean, I don't see a lot of it in the articles that I found, but there was an article that was like written 2000, I don't remember, later in the 2000s, right?
Uh-huh.
That during this investigation, they still use it as an example of like police still need to work together and not be so like, no, this is my case. And
Yes.
I didn't see in any of the articles like of examples of how that was happening in the case,
Mm-hmm.
but like it seemed like there must have been some or some communications that weren't great.
Oh, so this case was used as a bad example?
Yeah,
Oh,
but I didn't find any evidence of that in my research of like how it would
yeah.
have been a bad example. And they didn't even say how it was in the article. It
Like
just
what
said
the
like
issues were.
more people need to be willing to share information, but I didn't see, I don't know. Anyways,
Unless
okay.
they meant it in a good way, like, see, this is uh, then again, I don't know the rest of the story, but I just
No,
wonder if it was
it was just kind of a weird thing that I was like, it seemed like they all worked together, but then also the article made it seem like they didn't. I don't know. It was weird.
hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So, let's see. While they waited for the results to come back from the fingerprints, they interviewed Taylor, and his story kept changing. They kept catching him in a lie. Um,
Okay.
but lo and behold, the fingerprints were a match. John
Mm,
Taylor was arrested at 9 p.m. on June 28th at the home of his half sister, Tressa Taylor, in Ogden, Utah. He was charged with first-degree murder the next morning. So he literally had only been in Utah for 4 days, right?
right.
And he like that's every time he's released from prison, it only takes him a very short time to continue his criminal behavior. So
Yeah.
at what point do they say like you're just going to keep doing it? Why are we releasing you?
Right.
But I don't understand like it sucks because you have to charge them, then they have to be sentenced. And if they serve their time, then they serve their time. But he was released after 6 years. So I feel like if he would have like,
Like, why didn't he just finish out his sentence?
I don't understand it. But I
Like,
mean, I
why let
guess
him off easy? Like, what's the criteria for that?
I wonder if that charge was for armed robbery and not like a sexual assault. So I wonder if they were able
But
to
didn't you say it was all that and
back
sexual
in
assault?
thir back when he was younger.
Oh, I thought you said that all that
Oh,
it
hold on.
was
Let me check.
burglary and sexual assault.
Hold on. Oh yeah. Sorry. Ah, it was sexual assault. You're right. I forgot. I forgot there were more instances of that.
Yeah, but it's just like I don't know. Like why is he being let off easy for that?
I don't know. Don't you think it would be the full 15 years? But I also know that when there's like appeals and whatever, and if they're I don't know, when there's not enough space in the prisons, then they're like, oh, yours is less serious than this guy, so you can leave and he can stay. But like,
Oh, yeah. That's
anyways,
horrible.
do you hear the train?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, um, so Sharon King, Charla's mom, um, she moved out of the apartment complex June 28th after she learned that the neighbors who did come forward as witnesses did nothing when they heard Charla screaming during the attack. They heard her,
Seriously.
did not help her, didn't call 911, didn't do anything.
See something, say something. Hear
Yeah.
something, say
Well, that
something.
I was
Like,
thinking about that because I was like, you hear kids playing in the neighborhood and they're screaming and being crazy. Levi screams when he just like sits there. So it's like it's hard to it's hard to know when it's like
real.
real, but you also I feel like you can tell the difference between like a terrified scream and like a playing and running around, you
Yeah,
know?
it's like the breath behind it is different,
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I don't let my kids scream, like even if they're outside, I don't let them like scream because I usually can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
It makes me like anxious, like was that real or not,
Right. Yeah,
So
that's true. I wonder if it's but still, don't you think I don't know. I feel like you'd have an intuition.
yeah.
But
But I
where
feel like a
you
lot of people are like, well, like not my business, like nothing happened. I don't
yeah,
know. A
that's
lot of
hard.
people would just like explain it away, like it's probably nothing.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it just does suck when you find out something really did happen. Then you're like, oh, I heard that,
Like every time I hear something now, I'm gonna be like 911, I heard something, and they're gonna be like, stop calling.
Like April, it's okay.
Yeah, but I guess like I would hope that I would have called 911, but you're right. Like it's hard to know. And then you're also like second guessing yourself. Like when I lived in Kearns, I thought I heard gunshots all the time, which I did, but
Yeah.
I didn't know if what it was because
Yeah.
it could be,
Target practice.
well, it could be like
Who's to
the
say what their target is?
the car backfiring or whatever it's called,
Oh
or
yeah.
like I don't know.
Yeah.
I did,
I know what you mean.
and also if you can't tell where it's coming from,
Yeah.
like I heard a gunshot. Okay, where is it? Well, I'm here. I don't know where the guns are.
Yeah,
Like,
somewhere nearby.
yeah, they're somewhere around here, so go look.
Right.
Um, okay, so the murder trial began November 27th, 1989. John Taylor waived his right to a jury. He testified on his own behalf, and and he said he only entered the apartment to burglarize it when no one was home, which is and he said that's why my fingerprints were on the phone was because there was money under the phone and so I lifted it up and took the money and then I left. Like what are the chances the same
Mhm.
apartment gets a like burglarized and then a different person comes in to murder the
Yeah.
girl, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just like, okay,
Sure.
that was okay. um
Oh my gosh.
let's see. The Weber County Deputy Attorney William Dane stated that Taylor had previously denied being in the apartment at all and that two witnesses placed him at the scene of the crime. So, um, like he was in the area, people had saw him in the area and he had lied about being in the apartment and then now he's saying, "Oh, well, I was there, but I just went there to steal stuff." So like
Yeah.
he can't be trusted because he keeps lying, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
one of his fellow prison inmates, Mike Gallegos, testified that he had a brief conversation with Taylor and said, Taylor apparently said, I accidentally killed a girl. So, like, now
Okay.
you have him admitting it to other people, but it's a
Yeah.
secondhand admission. So it doesn't like totally count as a Gumby's hunting a bird in my neighborhood. Sorry, or in my backyard. Oh my
okay.
gosh. I thought that was a bird on my head for a second, and it's this.
You forgot about it.
I was like, I heard rustling and I was like, there's a bird for like a split second. Okay. Um, okay. So Dwayne Moyes and James Gaskill of the Weber State College Crime Lab testified that the person who cut the telephone cord with a knife and used it to strangle the victim was likely the same person who left behind fingerprints on the phone, obviously, because there were no other prints other
Yeah.
than his that were not
Yeah.
like people who lived in the home.
Right.
Yeah. So, Gaskill, the guy, one of the crime lab guys, said that the fingerprints on the phone were matched with Taylor's left hand, and it was the only evidence putting Taylor at the scene. But there was also evidence burglary. Sorry, let me say that for the 40th time. There was evidence that there was no burglary at the home. So
Okay.
nothing was taken.
I see.
So the only intention that they could
Mhm.
find was to go in the home and attack the girl.
That is just awful.
Yeah, it
Heartbreaking.
hurts. It hurts my heart for her and her mom. Oh my gosh, what a
For
horrible
real.
experience.
And I'm sure her mom is here at the trial, right?
Yeah.
And hearing all this, just being like, just cuz, huh?
Yeah.
Just freaking cuz.
Yeah. On December 5th, 1989, Judge Roth found John Taylor guilty of murder and sexual assault. On December 19th, 1989, Taylor became the first convict in 40 years to be sent to death row by Weber County Court. Um, the case was automatically appealed to the Utah Supreme Court, which was upheld. So it means they just basically said, yeah, we agree on the
Yeah.
conviction, and he's
Yeah, you're right.
yeah. His execution was scheduled for January 15th, 1992. It had been rescheduled to June 24th when Taylor's attorney, Martin Gravis, requested to withdraw from the case. He was like, nope, I'm done with this guy.
Yeah.
And then just 1 week before his execution, on June 24th, his new attorney was like, hey, I need more time to prepare for an appeal. And the judge granted stay of execution um, until he had more time. So while incarcerated, Taylor was
Wow.
going stir crazy. He was like bored, I guess. And he, in that time, earned his high school diploma and studied to be a paralegal. Um, which I was like, who gives a shit? But I was like, I
Yeah,
guess
I know.
he was doing something with his time, but he should be
Just
bored. I mean, like he should be
yeah.
suffering in
Like why let him grow in any way?
right. I like I have
I don't
such
know.
a back and forth opinion on this because I feel like the non-violent crimes, I'm like, yeah, do good for yourself, you know?
Right. Like
But
sure, if it was just burglary or robbery and then he got his diploma, sure. But where he hurt other people and killed someone,
mm,
like that is just it's unforgivable.
a child especially, you know?
Yeah. It's unforgivable in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I feel like that should be part of a sentence is being like, you get to sit here and literally just think about what you've done.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
that should be all that's on your mind is how sorry you are.
Yeah.
Or
Da da da. So in October 1995, Taylor decided to stop filing appeals altogether. He fired his attorney and just said, you know what, whatever, because I guess he was having health issues and he
mm,
was like, whatever. It
yeah,
is what it is at this point.
yeah,
So, without any further appeals to file, Judge Roth ordered Taylor to choose his method of execution. Taylor chose to be executed by firing squad to make the process more difficult and uncomfortable for Utah state officials because
really.
they don't do the firing squad very often. At the
Mm.
time it was an option, but they don't do it often because it's seen as murder by the state.
But what kind of nerve is that? for him to be like, I just want to make this more complicated. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, you've already complicated enough people's lives and things. Like, how about you just go out quietly like you should?
Well, I mean, like if and that's the thing is like that's why people I'm on a back and forth about this morally also is like firing squad is seen as like a murder by the hand of another, right?
Hmm.
Like so
Oh, he's like trying to make hypocrites out of them or
yeah,
whatever.
because he this whole time withheld his innocence. He was like, I'm innocent. I didn't do it. I was there to steal. I wasn't there to hurt anybody. I didn't hurt anybody, so I'm gonna make them kill an innocent person.
The hell?
Yeah. And I think he
Ew.
was like playing mind games, like, oh, maybe he is innocent because he's still not confessing. And so I think he hoped that it would turn things around for him,
Yeah.
but it did not.
Ugh.
Oh, sorry. So this is a quote by him. He said, quote, because I'm innocent of the crime for which I was convicted of, and if my execution is carried out, it will be murder. Granted, it would may be legally sanctioned, but nonetheless murder. It will be, sorry, but nonetheless murder it will be, and the firing squad is my way of showing that point. And because of the cost and inconvenience it will cause the state because they are not really prepared for an execution by firing squad. Um, so because
So,
yeah, they have
were
to pay the people and whatever.
did anybody believe him?
I kind of think he had an uncle on his side, but that was the only person that I think had any.
I don't
And
know.
yeah.
I just wonder, like, if he had people that were like cheering him on, being like, "Yeah, I believe you're innocent."
Well, I mean, his family had already dealt with him, like sexually abusing his sister and other
And his
girls. And
fingerprints were there.
yeah,
It's
so
like
I don't think
it's not
anyone believed
even.
him. I think the only person that really like had any kind of like remorse or sadness for him was his uncle.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeez.
Yeah. Um, da-da. So his execution by firing squad was scheduled for January 26th, 1996. Taylor's last meal was pizza with everything on it. He shared the pizza with his uncle Gordon Lee. He was offered to be sedated before his execution, but he declined. Which I'm
Hmm.
like,
Then what's the point? You know?
did you hear that?
Yeah. What was that?
I don't know.
Was that an animal?
Cooper.
It sounded to me like it was like a bird or like a yapping dog next door.
No, it was right behind me, and both my dogs are behind me, or right here.
Hmm.
That was weird. Okay,
That
sit
is
down.
weird. We'll
I
have to go back
really
and
want you to
see
just
what that sound was after I amplify it. Weird.
sit. It was like there's a there's a ladder like behind these benches right here that's
Mm-hmm.
like laying down. You can kind of see them at like
Oh
the
yeah.
right there. And it sounded like an animal like bumped into it.
A
But
mouse
well, it would have had to be a pretty effing big mouse.
or a rat.
Well,
A
Gumby would
cat.
have hunted it. I don't know. I don't know what it was. It freaked me out though.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
weird.
Now, where was I?
You last thing I think you said was about the sedation. Like he was offered to be sedated, which is like really weird
Yeah, I thought
because
that was strange.
I don't know. I feel like if they're gonna choose firing squad, I feel like they ought to be conscious for that.
Well,
So
I
then what's the
can,
point? You might as
yeah,
well
like,
just inject them with something anyway.
yeah,
Like
why
while
not
you're sedating them, you might as well just throw in the whatever it is.
lethal injections or whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that
like
was
you're already
weird.
in there.
I don't know. I kind of, and that's where like I feel like I morally don't know where I stand with that because I'm like, if you choose firing squad, you get to experience the firing squad.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And then like lethal injection, like they're not sedated for lethal injection. I mean, the injection sedates them and they fall asleep quietly and
Right.
painlessly.
Right.
So I'm like, do
They
they
shouldn't
deserve
be,
that?
yeah, they shouldn't be offered sedation.
I
I feel like
really,
that's too comfy cushy, you
well, I
know?
mean, the lethal
Like,
injection itself is cushy because it's painless. They
yeah.
just fall asleep. And I'm like, if you are in a position where you are like on death row and you've been given the death penalty, you kind of deserve what you get coming at you.
But
I just saw a yellow leaf fall from my tree.
whoa.
I just witnessed fall starting. I'm
You're the
gonna
first
get
to
my
see it.
Halloween decorations out.
You see
Okay.
one leaf fall and you're like, it's Halloween now.
Yeah, it is fall time. And this
Yeah.
is where I start my decorations. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So 5 police officers who volunteered to be a part of the firing squad were paid $300 each.
Mhm.
A prison official selected each rifle from a table and handed them to a second prison official. So he grabs it from the table, he picks these rifles, takes it from the table, hands it to a second prison official. That second prison official then loads the rifles with either blanks or like real ammunition.
Okay. That's way it's just random,
And
right?
then it's added back to the table.
Okay.
So no one really knows which one is loaded because then it's randomly taken from the table and handed to an officer for the firing squad. So like everything's random. No one knows exactly which rifle is because they're all identical. So
Mm.
no one knows which one is the loaded, like which one has what. Okay, anyways.
Yeah. I wonder if afterwards, though, like after it's been shot, if it gives off a scent, like if they could tell just by like the gunpowder.
Well, they're the blanks are like wax bullets and they're like they test them previously to make sure that they seem like it's
Oh,
exactly the same as a regular.
like the imitation, like it
Yeah,
imitates.
it's almost exact, so no one would know if they were the lethal shot or whatever.
I
But
see.
what's interesting is they loaded 4 out of the 5 as active ammunition and only one was the wax bullet.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
opposite of what they were supposed to do.
No, I think that's just what it
Oh,
says.
oh, I
I
thought
don't
it
know
was.
what the real thing is, but that's what they
Oh,
did. And I wonder if that's so that no one knows if they were like, no one can be certain if they were the wax bullet or if they were the one who shot the
hmm.
whatever. Okay.
I thought it was opposite. I thought they did it so there was one real bullet and the rest were fake.
I thought so too, but I think it's
But
because like if only one of them is lethal, they have more chance of it being an unsuccessful
mm,
situation or like it's he's not hit in the right spot and
mm,
the death is takes a long time and people kind of just sit there and watch him suffer until he dies type of thing, which is
yikes.
less okay for the people who are observing and
Yeah.
what yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. So Taylor was led into the execution chamber, strapped to a chair 17 feet away from the shooters, with a hand covering his head, or sorry, with a hood covering his head. Sandbags surrounded his feet to soak up blood, and sandbags were arranged behind him to prevent ricochets from the bullets.
Okay.
The captain walked down the aisle, tapping each shooter on the shoulder to check if they were ready. At 12:03 a.m., every shooter fired at the count of 5, and the white cloth target on Taylor's chest flew off. His body jolted, and his left hand tightened into a fist. His grip gradually loosened, and his head fell backward. A doctor checked his
My
pulse, and he was
goodness.
pronounced dead at 12:07 a.m.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that's just it really just paints the picture.
Well, the reason why it's
Goodness.
so detailed and like people like it, whatever, is because the media coverage on this was insane. All
Oh,
the way to
really?
Japan, this was being friggin' like all over
Talked
the media
about.
because the firing squad is kind of like unheard of at the time. Like
Mm,
it it was kind of looked down upon because it is seen as murder by the state, which I'm
hmm.
like lethal injection is like the same thing.
Right. It's just a different weapon.
Yeah, whatever. I think it's weird. But anyway,
Yeah.
um so like the media coverage and the attention and a lot of like people were saying like it's really messed up that so much media attention is on the execution itself and not on what he did and who he did it to. Like
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening. This is crazy.
It's
Firing
like, okay,
squad,
let's
whatever."
dial it back and look at reality here
But
because of
let's
what
talk about
he
his
did.
victim. Like Charla was 11 years old. Her
Right.
then very next day was her 12th birthday. She was going to
Yeah.
Lagoon. She was excited. She spent the day with her grandma and like barely missed her mom by an hour, maybe.
Mhm.
And like, oh my gosh, it's just like so frustrating because it turned into like people being excited and interested in the death penalty instead of like the actual reason he was
Mhm.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh man. And that poor family, you
Yeah, oh my
know.
gosh. Which, like, Sharon, the mom, she spent the entirety of the execution. Like, I mean, she was in a hotel room by herself because she knew what was happening and she was just like, I need to be alone. And
Hmm.
she said from one of the articles, she said, quote, I felt something pass through my heart around midnight and felt that he was dead. A part of me
Wow.
wanted him to die, and the other part of me felt bad for him. My heart goes out to his mom.
Wow.
Through all of that, she's still like, I know what it feels like to lose a child. So his poor mom. And I'm like how selfless to like think about that instead of like, good, you deserve it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Like you chose to have love instead of hate,
Yeah, like
in the
how,
end.
wow, it's just crazy. All Sharon wanted was for Taylor to admit that what he did before his execution. She said, quote, I would have more respect for him if he, admitted
Mhm.
to it, if I thought he showed any remorse.
Yeah.
Taylor's remains were cremated and sent to his uncle in Oregon. Taylor's death certificate reflects his cause of death to be homicide.
Seriously. April's losing her hat.
Oh no,
Nice.
it stuck to my hair.
Um, homicide, huh?
Wow. Yeah. So
How did that fly?
just
Like
because he was murdered by the state. Isn't that weird?
it should say, I mean, I guess if it said executed, that I don't know if that's any better.
In my head, I would say execution by the state because that
Yeah.
means that he died because he was on death row.
Like there was
But
a reason, a
because of
good
this,
reason.
the execution met the state's definition of intentional death by another hand. So it was homicide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you wonder if that's why he was trying to become a paralegal, is to like get them in trouble for it before he died,
I don't
Or
I don't know.
like I wonder if that's his reason to study into it so that he could like
Well, I think
have the last word.
because he was a
Sorry. Hey, stop. Stop it. Okay, sorry.
But because he was studying to be a paralegal, I kind of think that that's how he knew that the firing squad would be difficult and
Oh,
a process for the state. And so that's why he chose that to be kind of an annoyance and like make things difficult for everybody. I think that's how he knew that.
gotcha.
Um, but none of so because it's technically homicide on his death certificate, none of the executioner officers were obviously charged with
No,
anything. Um,
of course
so
not.
it was kind of like a weird Sorry.
Bless you.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Okay. Ugh. This is like taking a long time and I didn't expect it to.
No, you're good.
Um, so just 8 hours after Taylor's execution, the Utah State Representative Cheryl Allen introduced a bill to eliminate the firing squad. Um, there's a whole bunch of stuff on the firing squad that I could talk about, but like I kind of don't want to focus on the firing squad or the execution itself. I
Yeah.
kind of would rather focus on Charla and her mom.
Yeah.
Um, but if
Like
you want to
that's gotten
read,
enough attention.
yeah, if you want to read about the whole firing squad situation, I think the only state in the US that now offers it is, well, I think Oklahoma and Utah now.
Mm.
Utah started it up again in 2015 because the lethal injection drugs were on a shortage. So it's still an option as a backup, but it's not like the main like default situation.
It's weird they had a shortage of lethal injection stuff.
I know, isn't that weird?
It's like, where is it going?
Yeah, right. Who are they giving it to?
Right.
Um, but basically, like, there's a article in from the Deseret News in 1995, which is the last article I see that had anything from Sharon, Charla's mom.
Mhm.
Um, she would have been 70 in her 70s now. So
Oh,
like I think she probably just kind of lived her life through
mhm.
and but
If she's
some
still around, she's probably just kind of living her quiet life.
yeah, I mean, who wants to be reminded of this and asked about this forever, you
Yeah.
know?
At some point,
Um,
you gotta heal, right?
yeah, so but from this article in 1995, some things she had to say was that Christmas and her birthday were Charlotte's favorite holidays. Every
Mm.
Christmas season is difficult for Sharon, as I can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, the year after Sharon lost her daughter in the most brutal way, she also lost her stepfather and her niece. So
Oh.
I feel like because of the trial and all that stuff, some things are overlooked. Like everyone looks at the murder and is like, "Oh my gosh, like what a story." But like you
Mm-hmm.
think about like the aftermath, like these families go through like
Mm-hmm.
some of the hardest things, the questions, the like constant thought of like her last moments and how terrified she was. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
people focus, I mean, I know we're doing a true crime paranormal podcast, but like I feel like a lot of the time the focus is like on Ted Bundy, how it was more focused on him as a person and like, but who gives a shit? Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the victims. Let's talk about the like what they were like and who they were and like
Mm-hmm.
really think about what the world lost because of this person. Like
Yeah.
I feel like people romanticize true crime and it's not that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like always the misconception of people who are true crime or interested in true crime. It's not that they're I would say for my own personal feelings, I'm not like obsessed with murderers and like
Yeah.
excited about the stories. No, like I'm more interested in like
Who the people were
who the people
and
were, but also like I know that I parent different because of the true crime stories I hear.
mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I have a
Like
little
they're
bit
almost
more,
cautionary tales.
yeah, awareness of my surroundings and like I'm
Yeah.
constantly scared I'm gonna be murdered all the time, but like at least like I have awareness of like the
Yeah.
like what I want then like to trust the right people and
Mm-hmm.
question things that
Well, and
don't
just
make sense.
and then also being aware for other people,
Yeah.
like if you see something, since you kind of have like this background knowledge of true crime, you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, I know that one time this happened to somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing something like that happening in front of me. So now I know how to respond because I know that this has happened before to other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it is, even though there is like a lot of fascination around the stories, I think a lot of it is at least for like us, like it's gathering the tools of like how it can help you later.
Right, right.
So,
Um, so in this article, Sharon also said, quote, I was mad at God, the world, myself. I just couldn't understand why all of this happened to me. I wasn't doing so well. I prayed to God to take the hate from my heart.
mm,
Um, it was the end of that year after she lost Charla.
mm.
Um, she had a dream that her daughter came to visit her. She doesn't remember seeing anything, but she did hear and talk to Charla. When it was time for her to go, Charla told her mom she'd have to go alone. Uh,
Oh,
she said, quote,
that.
in the dream, she said, I have to stay. I'm happy here. She was telling me that I had to let go, and that hurt so bad. A lot of the times I picture her in God's arms. Oh, that's hard.
It's so sad.
Just to lose a child.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can only imagine, but oh, sorry.
Well, where she was saying like, you have to let go, it just made me think like, I wonder if some spirits are stuck sometimes because the people that are still here aren't letting them go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wonder if that was her way of being like, I need to go, so you need to let me go,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and I think too, like having that experience was probably so healing to her and probably how she was
Yeah.
able to like think about the mom of John Taylor instead of like the hate that she could
Yeah.
have felt. I think that that helped her heal a lot to have that experience.
Yeah.
Um, da da da. Whew, whew, whew. Sorry, I lost my spot.
Very good.
Sharon's way of giving Charla Christmas because it's her favorite holiday is by
Mm-hmm.
buying needy children all the gifts she would have bought for Charla. Um,
Oh,
which is
that's sweet.
I thought was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so that's the end of my story, but like
Wow.
I just I feel grateful to live in a world where like there's security cameras and I have like 40 locks on my door
And cell phones,
and yeah, and cell phones because like we do have more ways to like protect our children. And at the time, it was just like if you had to work because she was a single mom
Mm,
and Charlotte was the only child. And so like what do you do? You know, I
right.
mean, we
Like
grew up in a time
yeah,
where we were home, but we had siblings,
right.
like
We weren't totally alone,
we weren't totally alone.
we had a group, we had people with us.
Like, can you
Whether
imagine a guy trying to freaking come into a house full of our like the four kids, like
yeah.
but she was a an only child and so she was only home by herself for like 2 hours. So like
And what's weird is he arrived in town 4 days.
days. Yep.
He didn't have enough time to stalk her, you don't think, like to
I
know
feel
their
like
schedule.
he would
So
have
it's like how
had to at least like noticed that she was home alone once or twice before.
hmm,
Because
maybe
I'm
yeah.
like, I feel like he would have said, okay, that or like noticed, like that girl is home by herself. What a perfect opportunity. But like 4 days isn't enough to, I don't know. Like, how did he find
Yeah.
that window, that short window?
Mm-hmm. Like that's risky. That's risky. Which I mean, they all like I don't know how their brains work, but it's like it just sucks for her and her family.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
really
just
does.
geez, wrong place, wrong time, wrong people. It's all wrong. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Well, and that's like, eh, these are the kinds of stories that I'm like, okay, when my kids are preteens where like I was talking to Josh about this
Yeah.
yesterday and I was like, okay, so my kids are 6 and 7 and
Hmm.
we're like, where is our comfort level with like letting them go outside, like go out in the
Right.
front yard? Because right now we pretty much only feel comfortable with them coming in the backyard by themselves. Like we're
Yeah.
psycho helicopter parents. And I think that's because I listen to true crime so much that I'm just like, nope, you are not allowed in
Yeah.
the front yard unless I'm out there. Like I barely let Axel walk home from the bus stop by himself a couple times, and I was like looking out my window like, okay, he should be here by now. And I go outside
Yeah.
and I look and I'm like, okay, he's right there. But like
Yeah. You
it's
can't be too
literally
careful. You
four
can't.
houses down and I'm just like so nervous. And I just like I don't
Yeah.
want to give any psychos an opportunity. I can't
Right.
trust the world with my kids yet. I just
No,
can't.
it's hard to. It
Yeah.
really
And
is.
because I don't can't control every part of their lives and I don't want them to experience anything bad, but they will. I did, you
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
We got into trouble and it's
Right.
just like I don't want my kids to have to deal with that stuff, but like I don't know. There's only so much helicoptering you can do for so
Yeah.
long.
Well, they're
Uh,
still young, so I think that the helicopterness is appropriate still.
At 6 and 7, I think so. But like I
Yeah.
know that once
Yeah.
they, in the next couple years, I'm gonna have to loosen up and I'm nervous
I
for that
think
because I'm not ready for it.
I think they will give you the hints,
Yeah, mom especially.
if they feel comfortable to walk home from the bus stop, then I feel like that's when your guard's gonna go down. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like you feel comfortable, so I'm gonna feel I feel like you're just gonna go off of how they feel about it and
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
It'll be
So
fine. I mean, I had a hard
yeah.
time letting them go to school. So it's just like
Right.
I can't trust anybody with my kids because I'm just so freaking scared of everything.
You can't trust anyone anywhere at any time.
Exactly.
Even at school. And that's the sad
Even at
thing.
school, because there's bullies, there's like bad kids that are older. There are,
Yeah.
ugh, I
Well,
can't think
good
about
job
it
on
too
your
much.
story.
Thanks. I know it was kind of a heavy one, but
I mean,
they all kind of are. I think my half of the
no.
episodes is like really sad, and then when we can get to like ghosts, we can actually like lighten things up a bit.
We're like, anyway,
Let's talk about.
let's lighten the mood a little.
Okay,
No,
I have a
but
proposition
okay.
because I took way longer than I intended to.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to split this up by because we have like 30 minutes.
Right. I have 9 pages.
I know. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if do you have like 2 hours tomorrow morning? We can like record the second half tomorrow.
It would have to be earlier tomorrow morning.
I can do anytime. It
Okay.
like if we did 9 or
Yeah.
8:30.
9 works. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Testing.
Testing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool. I have a bun today, so maybe this will
Oh, keep it all cute.
maybe it'll sit in there
That's cute.
nicer.
That's cute. I was gonna wake up early and make something fancy, but then I didn't get home from Backstreet Boys till midnight. So
So tell us about Backstreet Boys. Were
they
they back?
are
All right.
they were back and they were more than all right.
Okay. That's good. Good to hear. How's Nick? How's he doing?
40, still
40.
still
Still
sings the
40.
same.
Oh.
So do you know the Backstreet Boys? Like, do you know the
I
names
don't
of them? You
I
only know
mean if
Nick,
you
right?
I only know Nick, but if you were to like sound off their other names, I think I'd be like, okay, yeah, yeah, I know who that is.
AJ, Kevin, Howie, Brian.
Yeah,
Do you have
yeah,
a favorite?
probably just Nick. Well, really, it's Aaron Carter is my favorite, but he's not really part of the band.
No, he is not. Um,
Probably part
I
of the stage crew now.
Brian has my heart. Oh,
Oh
he's
yeah,
so good. But they are so we saw them in Vegas a few years ago
yeah.
and they were so good live, like so good. But you
I
forget
remember you saying.
over time.
Right.
And then I was like, when they started, because they didn't start till 9 o'clock. And it was
What
just,
time? What time did it say on the ticket?
well, the show started at like 7:30-ish, and that's when their openers started,
Okay, I see.
or 7. No, we got there at 7. I don't know. But they're just so good. Like they are amazing live. And you forget how
Yeah.
many songs they have. Like
Mm-hmm.
when they come on, you recognize them, right? But then
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
hear that you're like, they have so many songs. Like,
Didn't they go country recently?
uh-uh. No, all their stuff is pretty much similar
Oh,
style.
sorry. Never mind. That was a conversation me and Mitch had. I think he said somebody that he listens to sounds like one of the Backstreet Boys. And he could have sworn, he's like, I swear he's on the Backstreet Boys. He sounds just like him.
Howie,
And
maybe. Oh no, Brian is from the South.
I'm
He
not sure.
he
Maybe.
used to have
Yeah.
a Southern accent, so maybe. But oh,
Anyway,
dude,
dang. So who'd you go with?
Jordan and her sister Taylor. And it was so
Okay.
fun. Like it
Nice.
was just because I mean, they played a lot of their new stuff too, which
Mhm.
as a person going for nostalgia is not as fun usually when they play the new stuff because you don't really know it by
Right.
heart like you do the old stuff.
Yeah.
But gosh, it was so freaking good. And a lot of their new stuff I still really like. Like it's similar style, but I still love it. I just didn't know the words, so I just sat there and listened. But
You're just like waving your phone.
yeah,
Yes.
it was
Just
so
vibed.
so good. And
Nice.
there was this guy next to us, like he I would say is in his 40s
Mm.
and was with his wife, similar age group, and he was dancing like he was one of the Backstreet Boys, and I was just like,
You go.
yeah, I
You
was
go,
like,
man.
wow, like the confidence you have to go because it's at USANA amphitheater.
Oh, is it USANA?
Yeah,
Okay.
and like he's just in the grass dancing like it's 1999, and it was just
Yeah.
so awesome. I was like, to have that confidence would be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't the Backstreet Boys come to Utah every year?
Um, they did say that Utah was their favorite, which I think they tell every city that
Mhm.
they go to.
Yeah. Like Toronto, you're our
Yeah,
favorite.
right. But
They just have to get
I
the
think
crowd
when
hyped.
they do a tour, they do have a stop in Salt Lake
Hmm.
because they did have a residency in Vegas, which they kind of hinted that they might do again.
Hmm.
But I'm not even kidding you. Like they are so good live. And like
Yeah.
even if you hear like cracks in their voice when they're singing, because like they've been up there for an hour and a half, you're
Yeah.
just like, I don't even care. This is the most amazing thing ever.
Right.
They're
And I'm
so
sure the altitude has something to do with it. I don't
well,
know.
and they still like dance really well, and they're in their
Hmm.
40s, like they're
I wonder if they're gonna do a tour with Britney Spears. Do you think so?
I hope so. That would
That'd
be
be cool. And like Justin Timberlake. They should do a nostalgia tour.
a 90s kids tour.
Yeah, and do like Usher and
Well, I
Justin
don't think
Timberlake.
Timberlake would because he'd have to get back with NSYNC
Yeah, I
for it
guess
to
it's
be like nostalgia.
right, right. Maybe they could do it just for like one summer.
I'd be curious if they ever would. If
Yeah.
if they ever would try. And like if Justin Timberlake would be down because he's like a big star dude. I wonder if there's a
He's
bridge
also
burned
burned a
there.
lot of bridges.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But
Yeah, that'd
anyway, good stuff. Good stuff.
be so any idea what my story's about?
Dugway.
Yes.
Ah,
So here's why my notes are so long about this one is because I wrote my notes about Dugway and then I like read my notes to myself and I'm like, if you don't know the backstory though, because I feel like you might have questions about like, well, what about this? And I'm like, well, if you know this, then you know this.
yeah.
So I'm like, how about I just go back and tell the backstory?
Okay.
So that's why my notes also doubled, and I was up super late the other night. And anyway,
Okay.
and I was also like trying to stay in my lane at the same time, but I was also like, but there's so much information. So I
Yeah.
still didn't get everything. I really didn't. And maybe I'll do an On Deck at Dusk episode about like all the details and all the theories and everything. Um, but I just tried to like squish it all down into a compressed story to make it make sense. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have questions, ask.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to also begin this story by saying that it doesn't start in Utah, but it ends in Utah. So
Okay.
if you're listening, just hang in there.
I'm here for the ride.
Okay. All right. And I try to put it in timeline order. So I
Okay.
hope it makes sense. I really hope. On June 24th of 1947, a civilian named Kenneth Arnold claimed that he saw a string of 9 shiny aircrafts zooming through the sky at an impossible speed above the state of Washington.
Okay.
Okay. While journalists were focusing all their attention in Washington with Kenneth's story, because this was the first time that any kind of UFO story happened in the US. There were some other stories like in Germany and stuff that was kind of going on before this happened. So people had heard of it, but nothing like that has happened in the United States.
Okay.
Also, this was right after World War II. Like the dust was not really even totally settled. It was
Okay. So
1947. So,
that would be nerve-wracking at the time.
yep. So people were kind of on edge. So some speculated that what Kenneth had seen was probably just missiles that the army was testing out in the middle of nowhere. They're like, oh, it's probably just missiles that flew by, and he thought they were aircraft.
Wait, you said a string of lights,
Yes, 9 of
six,
them.
9 of them
Mhm.
going quickly.
Yes.
I saw that on 24th of July.
Really?
Did you see that on the news? And they said it was like a
Starlink,
satellite,
the
Starlight,
Starlink.
Starlink.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard
But
about
is
that.
it really? I didn't
I
see
don't know.
pictures of the Starlink like in the sky.
Here's what I'm thinking. I think that in today's world, technology is just so advanced and people have the ability to find their own answers that, in my own opinion, I think if they're trying to cover something up, they're having a really hard time doing it.
Hmm.
That's all I'm going to say because how they can't keep everything uncovered unless it's like literally under the ground where we can't see it, or
Right.
in the ocean. But if it's up in the sky, like people have telescopes now just in their backyards.
Yeah.
People have cell phones, people have whatever, like people are tracking things
Like
all the
I
time
wish I would
now.
have had a telescope set out. Like
Yeah.
I was one of those people that always had a telescope out.
I want one of those like pirate telescopes you just like keep in your pocket. You go, don't you think that'd be like way more handy than like the ones they put on a tripod?
Yeah, but I don't think you'd be able to see it as well. It wouldn't
Yeah,
be as
probably not.
strong.
But they should make it advanced, an
Yes.
advanced pirate telescope.
Yes. A
Yeah,
space pirate telescope.
right, like an iPhone telescope instead
Yeah.
of, instead of a computer, like an iPhone size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Sorry. Go ahead.
you're good. So a lot of the news and like a lot of the news was focused up in Washington with Kenneth and his story, right?
Hmm.
Some people were just speculating that what he saw was just fancy, like either fancy military aircraft that they were just testing out after World War II, or it was missiles by the military. People were like, oh, it's probably them just like working on stuff in case we break out into the next war soon.
Hmm.
Um, but then there was also a group of people that believed that they were extraterrestrials because Kenneth was he was like I didn't put it really in my notes, but like the articles that I was reading, people were commenting about how like articulate he was and like serious and like he wasn't exaggerating. He wasn't all like worked up about it. He was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw these things and I clocked it. You know, I watched it go from this mountain to this mountain, and that's X amount of miles. And it took them a minute and a half to go that far. So I calculated they were going about 1,500 miles per hour. Like he was just very
Smarty pants.
smart. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was just very smart and like he understood that it didn't make sense and he wasn't out to get attention for it. He was just like, so what was that? You know, he was just more
Yeah.
like, I just don't know what it is. Um, so yeah. So that's where the story begins. Um, sorry, one second. So that happened on June 24th of 1947, right?
Mm-hmm.
On July 2nd of 1947, so like what is that, a week later or a week and a half later almost,
Yeah.
about 75 miles northwest of Roswell, New Mexico, witnesses saw a lightning bolt strike what it, sorry. Witnesses saw a lightning bolt strike what appeared to be a fast-moving aircraft and then watched the aircraft float in the sky another 125 miles towards the western desert, and then eventually it just crashed into the ground.
Okay.
Um, it crashed in a place that was known as Plains of San Augustine, and at least 10 witnesses were nearby to see what happened after the crash. Okay, so you see there's like 100 witnesses or so that saw it fly over.
Okay.
And then we know that we have about 10 witnesses who saw it like it crashed and like what happened right after that. Okay.
Okay.
Know this because in 1980, so a few decades later, a book was written called The Roswell Incident. And that is where they took all these witnesses' accounts and kind of pieced together what happened, like what was consistent throughout all the stories.
Yeah.
So, one of the witnesses that was nearby the crash, one of the 10 witnesses, his name was Barney Barnett, which sounds like a made up name to me, but
Yeah.
Barnett. And he went on record to say that he saw aliens come out of the wreckage, like living aliens.
Yeah. Okay.
He said they had large round heads and their eyes were small and oddly spaced.
Hmm.
Barney called out the other witnesses who were allegedly students from the University of Pennsylvania. He called them out and was like, "Are you guys going to say anything? Because you were there."
Yeah.
But I guess they were getting death threats and people were getting like sending like hate mail saying that they weren't being patriotic if they were to give a statement.
I
So
never
they,
understood the logic behind death threats.
yeah, me either. It's like, why would you want to kill them for what they say they saw? you
But
know?
also like to like people who get like any kind of media attention end up getting death threats of some kind. And I just don't understand it. Like
So
people
weird.
who are like in the media or in like a big news story, if there's any reason for there to be two different sides,
Mm-hmm.
I just
Like
don't
if it's
get it.
controversial in any way. Yeah, it's like,
I can't imagine being a person that would like take my time to go and threaten someone's life. Obviously they wouldn't do anything, like they're all talk,
yeah,
but like why would you use your energy for that? Like
right.
I just don't get it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I totally understand too, because it's just like, but why?
Right. Like, and also if you really thought about murdering them, you're giving them a heads up. So like the element of
Yeah,
surprise is gone.
right. So joke's on you.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so they were getting hate mail, death threats, so they stayed silent.
Mm-hmm.
On July 7th of 1947, so this was 5 days after that crash, right?
Yeah.
A rancher in Corona, New Mexico, showed up at the sheriff's office in Roswell And he has strange pieces of metal and claimed that he found the pieces scattered around his property a few weeks back. And at the time, he just saw it and then tossed it to the side because he was getting ready just to throw it away. He's like, I don't know what this is, but not mine, you know?
Yeah.
So he tossed it to the side, but then he started hearing the buzz in town about aircraft nearby and things. And he's like, wait a minute. So he collected all those pieces and took it to the sheriff's office. That's why there was a gap in time.
Yeah. Okay.
So the sheriff contacted Major Jesse Marcel, who was with the Air Force. And also the rancher's name is Mac. So just so everybody knows.
Okay.
So Mac went to the sheriff and said, hey, here's these metal pieces. I don't know like if you want them or if I should throw them away or what. The sheriff contacted Major Jesse Marcel, who was with the Air Force, and Mac took Marcel to where he found the debris on his property. And they looked around and they were able to collect more pieces just everywhere. There was pieces of what looked like rubber, some pieces looked like metal, and some pieces looked like they were just wooden, like pieces of like wooden beams.
Okay.
So the next day, so I guess Marcel collected all these things, and a few articles says that he just took it home, but I don't know. But he took all those pieces, and then the next day he took the material to his base commander, and his base commander's name was Colonel William Blanchard. Blanchard then took that to his superior, General Roger Ramey, and then General Ramey immediately ordered for the material to be sent out to the Fort Worth Army Airfield Army Base. So basically, it went from the rancher to the sheriff to that guy to that guy to that guy, and it just went way up the ladder.
Army base. Okay.
All that in one day. Like that's how quickly it went up the ladder. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So I'm just telling you the facts so you can decide if you think that there's conspiracies going on or if you really think it was nothing. Okay. All right. So on July 8th, so the next day, the I forgot to look up what this acronym is, but an RAAF public information officer named Walter Hout, he issued a press release saying that the military personnel had discovered and confiscated a flying disc, after it had crashed into a ranch near Roswell. So July 8th, so the next day is when a press release was officially stated saying, yes, the military has found a flying saucer and they're going to go figure out what it is. So they're trying to it seems like they were trying to say, okay, we're getting answers to what is flying over these cities and we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
The day after that, so July 9th, Marcel and Ramey, they took the pieces to the chief of staff, Colonel Thomas Dubose. And Thomas Dubose, he was the one who first said, oh, that's just a weather balloon.
A weather balloon?
A weather balloon.
Show me a weather balloon that looks like a saucer.
Right. So July 9th, so I think that's the same day. Yeah, so the same day, Marcel is quoted by reporters referring to the debris as just pieces of a weather balloon, saying it was essentially made of tinfoil, scotch tape, glue, and sticks. Yeah. So it seems like they're definitely trying to be like, shh, right?
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. Yeah. But okay.
Downplaying it as much as they can, for sure.
Right. Yeah. So decades later, so he was quoted July 9th saying it was just a bunch of tinfoil and tape, you know? Decades later, in 1980, he was interviewed on a TV show called In Search Of, and he was being asked about that press release on July 9th. He was just being asked about, why he changed his story. And he said, quote, "They wanted comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that. So all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Ramey is the one who discussed told the newspapers, I mean newsmen, what it was, to forget about it. It's nothing more than a weather observation balloon. Of course, we knew differently.
Mm.
Yeah. Mac's son says that he remembers helping his dad move and clean up some of those pieces when they first found it. And he remembers picking up what seemed like tinfoil, but remembers that when he like flattened it, it went perfectly flat. And then he would scrunch it and it was scrunched up like tinfoil. So he was like, that to me just didn't make sense. And it stuck with me because I'm like, that's not Earth, like
Yeah,
our
because
tinfoil doesn't do that.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah. His son, so Mac's son also remembers that when his dad went and was questioned by the military, he was held for by the military for 8 days
What?
afterwards. And he believes that his story completely changed after that. So he thinks
Uh,
that it was, to get his story changed and like saying, no, what really happened, and
yeah.
like basically brainwash.
Yeah, okay.
At some point, I don't know exactly when this was because I couldn't find a date. I just found it in a couple different places. But at some point, a radio reporter was asking Mac about the incident, pointing out flaws in his story, saying, like, wait, but you said this in the beginning, and then now you're saying this. So what is it?
Yeah.
And I guess at some point, Mac's demeanor completely changed for a moment. And he said with an almost pleading tone, quote, they'll go hard on me, as if hinting he was sworn to secrecy.
And threatened if he didn't
Yeah.
comply with
And
it.
then
Ooh.
and then the radio reporter said that when he was off air, he leaned over to the reporter and said, "You know how they talk of little green men? Well, they weren't green." Doesn't that just give you chills?
Yes. Because that, like, the fact that he didn't say they're not real or they weren't there or they were just people, he said they weren't green means he saw
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
and it's different than what other people perceive them as.
Right. And he's also being told to say something else.
Yeah,
Oh, it's just creepy. So creepy.
that is spooky. Oh, but
Yeah.
like, it doesn't it just like give you like one of those existential crisis situations where it's like,
Like what's real?
yeah, uh,
Like what's real? What's fake? What have I been lied to about? Like
right.
what's the truth? All right. So the book, The Roswell Incident, was released in 1980, right?
Hmm.
Um, so that was released in 1980, and then that interview was done in 1980. So this kind of sparked up people's interest slash speculation and curiosity in UFOs again.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, there was still things going on in between this incident in 1947 and the 80s, but like this is what really got it back into the media's attention.
Okay.
And by the 90s, so another decade later, people started to demand answers from the US government. Um, it didn't help that at the time, a lot of the movies that were being released, a lot of the movies and TV shows that were being released had a lot of plots that had to do with like conspiracies and like,
Yeah.
like that's just kind of how like a lot of the stories went. So people just had it in the back of their mind, like, wait, am I being lied to? So
Right.
a lot of people started to demand answers. Also in the 90s, a lot more witnesses came forward and started writing books about the Roswell incident.
Hmm.
Even some ex-military people came forward and said that they were part of classified projects and they had seen UFOs and even corpses of non-human creatures.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine being like in a military base and seeing that for the first time and you're like,
Right?
so
I
they
know.
are real.
Yeah.
But again, what does that mean for like the religious side of life, you know? Like what does it
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Right. I mean, but it's hard to believe that we would be the only planet in the entire universe. Oops. With
One
um
second.
with
What?
life.
It's back.
In the late 90s is when it was discovered that the military was spending millions of dollars in a top secret or in top secret projects and even had a lab on a military base in Groom Lake, Nevada.
Hmm.
This area was known as Area 51.
Right.
Okay, so we're getting caught up. And I know that people that have heard a lot of like the background stories of Area 51, I skipped a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
that's for another day.
Right. Maybe an
Um,
on deck at dusk.
right. So conspiracy theorists from all over started traveling to Area 51 to demand answers and to get their and to possibly get their own experience or own evidence of extraterrestrials. So quickly, Area 51 began or started to become a tourist attraction. A tourist attraction.
Yeah.
So because suddenly this military base was getting a lot of public attention, it's theorized that they wanted to move locations and found that Dugway, Utah was large enough and isolated enough that they were able to hide their projects more easily.
Okay.
So we believe that they relocated Area 51 to Dugway and then it became Area 52.
Is that like an official name of it? Is Area 52? Or is it
I
like
think it's
a fake name because of Area 51? Area 51.
Yeah, that's a good question because a lot of like news articles would put Area 52 in quotations, but they wouldn't put Area 51 in quotations.
So it must be like a given name by the
It's like a code
people.
name. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Got it. I didn't
I
know if it
think
was like
so.
an official military like
But I don't know though. It might be. I
mm,
really don't know. I know that Area 51 got its name. We don't know where the number came from, but we know that it got its name from the CIA, like released documents that they exposed at some point.
mhm.
They refer to it as Area 51. So
Which
that's how
means
we
there are
know that.
50 other areas.
Right. And I also was reading, and I almost went down that rabbit hole, but I'm like, just don't. But I was reading that it's like, are there other ones? Is there 52 states and 51 areas? Or is it like, and somebody's like, no, they just did Area 51 because there's actually 15 areas and they switched the numbers to like make it a code name, like to like confuse people. And it's like, sure. Like we're already confused. So
Like, what would that do other than make us think that there are 50 other areas? You know?
but if we think that there's 51 and there's only 15, then
We'll never
we'd be
find
less
them.
likely that we'd find them. Yeah. See, we figured it out.
Just the logic doesn't
Just
make
kidding.
sense why that would be a code name to like keep
Yeah.
people guessing. Because if anything, it would just make me be like, they're lying to us. There's 50 other areas that we don't know
Right.
about.
See, this is a rabbit hole I decided not to go
Okay,
down.
well, for an on deck at dusk, make that one of your things is all the
Okay.
other areas.
Yeah. Okay. Because I also found, oh my gosh, I found a lot of things that I'm like, is that relevant? I'm like, it is, but it's like, okay. Anyway,
I feel like that's the hard thing with the paranormal ones is like what's relevant enough to like
to
not go
add to it,
completely down the wrong to like lose focus on one spot, you know? Like I feel
yeah,
like that would be hard.
it was a little bit hard. So yeah, if this story is a little bit choppy, it's because there were literally little like pockets of rabbit holes I could have gone down. And I was like trying to choose.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
so yes. Okay, okay. So Dugway. Let's talk about Dugway for a second.
Okay.
Geographically. So Dugway is a town that is in Tooele County. But when you look at the map, it kind of straddles Tooele County and is it Juwab County? Wab County?
Juab.
Juwab. I've never said that county name out loud before, and I was really
Me either.
embarrassed.
I can't decide if it's Juab or Huab.
Huab?
Huab.
Huab.
Like make the J and H.
Yeah, Juab. I don't think I've ever heard somebody say it out loud either. I think we all just don't say it.
I think we all
We
are
don't
just
know.
like, I don't know. It's a question mark. We're not gonna worry about it. I think it's
Just
Juab.
Juwab? Yes. Okay, so Dugway is in Tooele County, but it's also kind of in Huab County. It sounds wrong. Okay.
It sounds so
In,
stupid. I don't know.
yeah. In Western Utah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, this area is about 800,000 acres and it's the size of Rhode Island. Fun fact.
Oh,
Yeah. And which, by the way, it's like Rhode Island, how are you a state if you're the size of Dugway? You know what I mean? Like, how do we not have our own states in Utah?
it is a really tiny place then.
Yeah, probably just the population.
You
They
know
had to
what
like divide
state
and conquer.
that I forget exists?
Connecticut.
No, Delaware.
Yeah, Delaware. That doesn't sound real.
Maybe it's not.
Is New Hampshire a state?
Yeah.
Okay, that one I forget about.
Oh, no.
Well, because there's New England, right? That's not a state.
Yeah.
That's an area.
But like you never hear about Delaware. You never know what's going on there. I've never met a person or even had a perfect person referenced from Delaware. Maybe that's where the other area 50 whatevers are because no one goes there.
Like they're extra quiet over there.
Yeah. What are they hiding?
Okay. Well, uh Dugway. uh
Sorry.
you're good. It's the home to about 2,000 residents, and the town has schools and restaurants and places and also geode beds.
Yeah.
Hence my little geodes and my little crown. That's where they came from, is Dugway. I got these in
Oh,
Dugway. It's a great time over there.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I've been there.
Uh we should go. We should go. Dugway is divided into two sections. The northeastern half is where the majority of the residents live, and the southern half slash the rest of it is managed and operated by the Air Force and has a massive runway, about 13,000 feet. And fun fact, it's the second largest runway in the world. So
But for what?
a lot of conspiracy theorists believe that the reason it's so big is because they need to land aircraft that is that large, which would only be like a spacecraft. So there's dozens of roads that lead to various places around Dugway, but you must have security clearance to travel on certain ones because some of the roads lead to secret places.
Ooh.
Conspiracy theorists say that Dugway is Area 52
Yeah.
and it's believed that the US is doing classified research on extraterrestrial technology, and people think that this technology could free us from having to use fossil fuel energy. Do you know what that means?
That means the rich wouldn't be as rich.
Exactly. Yep. Bingo. So this is what the government will tell you Dugway is used for. Since World War II, the US government and military leaders have been telling the public that this base is being used for weapon testing, especially biological weapons. In 2004, the officials at the Army base in Dugway put in a request to expand their territory but they did not give clear answers why. Coincidentally, that same year, on Friday, June 11th of 2004, 5 members of Utah's UFO hunters team spotted a bright beam of light coming from above Dugway. They said the beam of light was steady for about 3 to 4 minutes before it vanished, then the sky turned a bright green color.
Hmm.
It sat there for an hour, and it happened about 5 or 6 more times. During that hour, they reported smelling ozone, which I don't know what that smells like,
How do you
but
smell ozone?
I don't know.
How would you
Yeah,
smell?
it's like that's a good point because when people are like talking about demons and they're like, "Oh, I smell sulfur," it's like, when have you been around sulfur? How do you
Yeah,
know what that
who knows?
smells like?
I mean, they say that it smells like just rotten eggs,
Right.
but like,
What does ozone smell like?
yeah, how would
Maybe
anyone
it's
know? Hold on, I want to Google what does ozone smell like. One sec.
okay.
Some people think that ozone is the scent that fills the air right after a heavy rain or thunderstorm. The smell of ozone
Oh.
reminds some of the chlorine metal burnt wire.
Oh. I know, like that electric smell.
Yeah.
That's an interesting smell. Huh. It's like smelling pennies, you know?
Yeah. Ugh. It just
Huh.
smells like burning wire, is what it says.
Fascinating. Okay, well, during that hour, they said they smelt ozone. They experienced two-way radio problems. 3 out of 5 of them said that the next day they had what looked like a sunburn, even though they hadn't been out in the sun the day before.
Hmm.
Some of them even felt ill for a few days afterwards and had symptoms like allergic reaction kind of symptoms. They
Okay.
all felt weak, tired, and just totally wiped out.
Yeah.
They did look back and see that there was a weapon testing that was scheduled for that date. So there is speculation that uh that if hold on. Oh gosh, I wrote the sentence weird. So they went back and they found out that there was weapon testing scheduled for that day. So there's two sides to that story. They're like, okay, either they were doing weapon testing and you guys were just too close to it, or two, it was extraterrestrial and they blamed it on that. Like they quickly put that on the schedule.
I mean, I believe that there is technology that's being tested for like weaponry and stuff that we don't know about that's more
Mm-hmm.
advanced. I do believe that that's real.
Right.
And I don't think there's anyone that would be like, no, like what we got is what we got. They're always
Yeah.
like improving the technology
Mm-hmm.
with our weapons, right?
Right.
But I kind of feel like at the time, because this was in the 80s, right?
No, this was in 2004.
Oh, 2004. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even still, sadly, that's almost 20 years ago. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's no way the technology at that time, 20 years ago, would be at a place of looking like that and doing those things.
Right.
Then you'd think that 20 years later, we would be using that technology
Mm-hmm.
for
Right.
what we need. So, like,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's where a lot of people are like, I mean, you can look at it in both ways and like just kind of take the story however you're perceived. Like, I don't know. It's believable both ways.
Yeah.
And one thing that one of the witnesses to this said, they're like, okay, well, if that was weapon testing, then why are they not caring that we were that close to it? Like whatever they were doing, it's harming people that are nearby.
Yeah.
So clearly they don't care about our safety if that's what it is.
Well, grandma, she said that she used to live near like where they do weapon testing or whatever. And a
Uh-huh.
lot of the people she grew up with ended up with cancers and stuff like
I believe
that.
that. Like just from radiation, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
which is like, was it weapons? You know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Ugh, crazy.
So that was in June of 2004.
Okay.
Okay. In November of 2004. Okay, recap. In 2004 is when the military asked for an expansion of their property. Okay.
In Dugway.
In Dugway.
Okay.
In 2004 is when those people witnessed that happening also.
Okay.
Also in 2004, towards the end of the year in November, um, in the news, it was all over that a spacecraft crashed and landed in Dugway when it was returning from a mission called Genesis. So NASA in 2001 had launched this pod up into space, which I didn't put this in my notes because I deleted it. Well, I did put it in my notes and I deleted it because I'm like a rabbit hole. But here, I'm just going to explain really quick.
Okay.
So in 2001, NASA launched this pod into space because they wanted to collect material from the sun because they
Yeah.
wanted to figure out how stars are born and stuff. Well, obviously, you can't land something on the sun, but they figured out that you can collect materials from the, like, the solar, what are they called? Solar flares or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, when those go out, it causes, then there's also this thing called solar wind,
Yeah.
and those particles get blasted off into space.
Okay.
So they launched this pod into space so that they can start catching that material and then they can bring it back to Earth to test it.
Yeah.
Capiche?
Yeah.
So that mission was called Genesis, and it was returning to Earth in 2004. But one of the parachutes on the pod didn't deploy correctly because somebody installed it backwards or something. So they say this is the story they put out. Okay.
Okay.
So somebody installed this parachute backwards and they weren't able to land it safely or in the right location. So it crash landed in the desert of Dugway.
Okay.
So since it crashed, that's when it seems like that's when that was the beginning of Dugway doing scientific research, not just weapon testing. So it
Okay.
seems like wherever that crashed is where they just were like, well, it's here now. So let's just keep it here. But
Yeah.
it's also like, why didn't they just take it and take it to one of their labs? Why did they have to keep it there? Anyway, that's just my own speculation. So
Hmm.
since this crash happened, there was an increase in security and they also made new developments around town. So a lot of ufologists think that there is definitely more to the story of this whole mission and spacecraft landing and all that. They're like, yeah, I don't know. Like it just seems so strange, Like why like okay, let's say it crashed. Like I said, why didn't they just take what they needed to their lab that they already have built somewhere? But instead they built a whole new lab just for that thing and then continued their research.
Did they build it around the crash site?
I don't know if it was around the crash site, but they built a lab after that and like just started doing their
Because
research there.
I wonder if it's like hazardous materials on the thing. And so transporting it to an existing lab would be dangerous because of whatever's on it, in it, whatever. Like they just spread it to where they're traveling,
Maybe,
like radiation or something.
maybe.
I don't know. I mean,
I
I
don't know
don't
either.
I don't science, so
I definitely could have gone further into that rabbit hole, but this is where I stopped.
I'm just like imagining all these alien focused on Deck at Dusk stories because there's like so
Right.
much that could be done.
Right. Right. Seriously though. Like I really could have gone more into detail, but all right. So that all happened in 2004.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna skip ahead to January 26th of 2011. At
Ooh.
5:24 p.m., there was an alert sent out to all the people in Dugway saying that Dugway was on full lockdown.
What?
In their testing facility, they completely sealed everything off and no one was allowed in or out. No employees were allowed to go anywhere.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so scary.
The lockdown lasted until the next day when it was finally lifted and there was no report of any injury or any damages. It was later admitted, slash, this is the story. Okay. Well, admitted, yeah, but okay, listen. So it was later admitted that this lockdown happened because they had temporarily lost a vial containing something called the VX nerve agent, short for venomous agent X, a biochemical weapon that was used to assassinate people. It's considered a weapon of mass destruction and banned by the Chemical Weapons Convention. And the only exception to having it is if you have it for research, and each lab is only allowed to have a certain amount at a time. And fun fact, they found the missing vial and they found it because somebody had just mislabeled it.
Oh.
Which I think is really funny because I'm just like, that person got fired
so quickly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's the
So
mistake I would make.
listen to a bigger mistake that's happened
Oh,
at Dugway.
okay.
In May of 2015, so a few years later, labs from all over the world were receiving shipments of live anthrax coming from the lab in Dugway. Unsure why the hell they were sent live anthrax. uh, they I guess it was reported to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, which I'm like, that's a thing.
Right. They must be busy. Or they're twiddling their thumbs because we don't take accountability for anything.
No, it could sound completely made up. I had to read it like 3 times, like the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Like
it's like the size of like, when
it's
Michael
like the
Scott
size of The Office.
starts his own paper company. It's like 3 of them in this tiny little office. That's what I imagine is
Him,
the
Ryan, and
U.S.
Pam.
Accountability office, and they're like, I don't know what we're doing.
Accountability for what? We didn't do anything wrong. So, but they launched an official investigation. I laugh.
They
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh.
I'm sorry, I'm just going off on this. I'm just like imagining them getting a report and they're not even reading it, and there's just this big like red stamp that says not our fault, move along.
Yeah,
Not our fault, move
just throw
along.
it away. If you don't want it, just throw it away. Sorry,
They
got
like move
shifty,
it
okay?
right, slide it off the desk right into a trash can, like, oh,
Yep.
that is hilarious.
So it was revealed that these shipments were received in 194 different labs and in places like Texas, Maryland, Wisconsin, Delaware,
Oh,
New
it
Jersey,
exists.
yeah, Tennessee, New York, California, Virginia, South Korea,
Whoa.
and Australia. But don't worry, the Accountability Office says the Department of Defense paid a visit or two, and thanks to that, the biosecurity is much stronger now, and that's according to an article written in 2018. So it took them 3 years to strengthen their biosecurity after that incident.
What idiot is like sending anthrax to like
They
all
said it was
these
a
labs?
management problem. They blamed on the management, which I'm just like, it's not a Taco Bell, you guys. It's not like they got food poisoning. It's
Right.
freaking anthrax. Oh my gosh.
A management problem, huh? I feel like everywhere has a management problem, but you still don't see anthrax being sent across the country.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's talk about aliens.
Okay.
So I found a YouTube video that showed a man named Dr. Stephen M. Greer, and he was being interviewed about what he believes is going on at Dugway.
Okay.
Dr. Greer is a leading ufologist who gave up his medical career to try and make contact with extraterrestrials and expose the government's giant cover up of alien life. Dr. Greer believes that at least since Roswell, New Mexico, or since the incident in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, the US government has been investigating, confiscating, and researching extraterrestrial life, artifacts, and technology. Dr. Greer refers to this secret project as the Black Box Program,
Okay.
which I tried to look into that and I really couldn't find specifics on Google. So I maybe could have looked harder, but if you just simply Google it, it's not going to show up. Just so you know.
Okay. Okay.
Um. Da, 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 da. So I couldn't find anything, but what Dr. Greer said is that this technology that they're working with and working on would allow them to travel deeper into space. What gives these ufologists the idea that this is going on at Dugway is because there's a company called Lockheed Martin who invests in different companies that are researching or developing cutting edge technology.
I know that company.
I know. Do you?
I don't know if, okay, you have to cut
You've
this
heard.
out.
Okay.
But
I'll cut that out.
okay.
Then I might cut this back in.
Okay.
But last night, I was thinking about my story, right? Because I was going to tell it yesterday morning, but then like I just turned my brain off from it yesterday because I
Yeah.
had a lot of things to do. But last night I was about to fall asleep and I'm like, I wonder if I should just like go through my notes and like see if there's any other like little rabbit holes or snippets I should look into. So I was reading and then I came across the Lockheed Martin. I'm just like, I wonder. So I Googled it. They are also connected with Area 51.
Really?
I found I found some things, you guys. You go look up Lockheed Martin, look up their business, look up what they're into. They started as an aircraft company in like the 20s, just a simple like business of like airplanes and stuff. And then
Okay.
it seems like they lost business towards World War One, I think. But then around World War II is when they like became millionaires and billionaires. And it's like, what happened during that time?
Where'd they get their technology from?
Yeah, right. So it's just interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Lockheed Martin's involvement with these labs and things is what a lot of ufologists, that's what keeps a lot of them interested. They're like, what is going on? Okay. Just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of secrecy. And Lockheed Martin, they invest in a lot of companies that are researching or developing cutting edge technology. Their former CEO, Dr. Ben Rich, admitted on his deathbed that for years the company was involved in top secret anti gravity technology. He was quoted saying, "Anything you can imagine, we already know how to do," end quote. But then he also was quoted saying, quote, "The multinational corporate board of directors poses more of a threat to the US than any extraterrestrial or technology that we're developing." So it's just kind of like you're really worried about the ETs, but it's your own government who you should be worried about.
I agree with that. I
Yeah.
agree with that, but also I I don't understand the point of like keeping aliens a secret. Like, what's the point? Why not say, yeah, we found this? Like,
I wonder if it's so that we don't like form an alliance and have like a civil war, like the civilians and the aliens versus the government. They just don't want us to team up with the good guys. That's what I'm guessing. I
well,
think the aliens are the good guys. I really do.
but I don't think alien like they're not making
Maybe not in
contact
every sense. But...
with civilians right now, right? They're just not.
Well, there's a lot of stories out there of like people being abducted
Well,
by
yeah, but like they
aliens.
don't remember anything. I mean, they remember pieces, but they don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I don't think that it would be wide enough to the public of experiences with aliens for them to team up together. You know what I mean? Like,
Unless aliens know how to time travel and maybe they know what could happen. So maybe they've gone back and said, "Okay, keep us a secret. Like you don't want to know." Like we know what happens if everybody knows, you know?
I kind of feel like if aliens wanted to come here and take over stuff, they easily could. They wouldn't
Mm,
send one tiny little spacecraft to like
right.
take over the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm like, why not just say what's I just don't why
Yeah.
lie? You know?
Right. It's always better to tell the truth, you guys. Come on. Our moms have been telling us for
Secrets
years.
are no fun.
Right.
Secrets hurt someone.
Mm-hmm.
And why not just tell us what is out there? Because, like, I feel like we all have a suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you were to say, like, at this point, I feel like if you were to say, yeah, we have an alien at Area 51, this is what it looks like, came here this time, but that's it. I feel like most people would be like, yeah, I'm not surprised.
But do you think that that would send a lot of like the religious people into a crisis?
Yeah, but
Like
I feel
maybe
like they're always in a crisis. I'm always in a crisis.
that's true. Like we're already there. Come on.
Yeah, our faith
How
is
can
being
this get worse?
tested every day.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Like stop gaslighting us for heaven's sakes.
For real.
Okay. So, not only do we have Dr. Rich's claims of these top secret projects, but we also have an engineer from Lockheed Martin who also admitted that he had been working on flying saucer technology since they confiscated the aircraft from Roswell. His quote says, "These UFOs were huge and they would just come to a stop and do a 60-degree, 45-degree, 10-degree turn and then immediately reverse its action." So they're like doing all kinds of flips and turns and things that we can't do with our aircraft, at least at the
Oh,
time.
well, we can't now still. Like, we can't hover.
No?
I mean, helicopters, but that's like the only hovering craft we have.
Right. True. So in 2014, a man named Mark McCandlish also is okay, so a man named Mark McCandlish, who is an accomplished aerospace illustrator, gave testimony at a secret space program conference in San Francisco that the US military has not only developed anti-gravity technology, but they have gone beyond that and developed zero-point gravity technology, which is what makes it possible to travel deeper into space. Mark also testified that his colleague, Brad Sorensen, had witnessed 3 different aircrafts that he believes were not from Earth and were being examined, and they were working on reverse technology on them. He said that he was shown a video of one of the 3 aircrafts that were there, and it looked like it was hovering above a lake bed nearby when out of nowhere it launched straight up into the air at an impossible speed and was gone within seconds. He said the craft didn't make any noise or seem to emit any noticeable exhaust gases. So Brad was shown this video, but this video was taken. So he was shown this video in 2014 or so, but the video was taken back in 1973.
Okay.
So they knew that the craft was advanced for that time.
Yeah.
What's strange is that a photo was taken in 1966 near Provo, Utah, of a possible UFO, and it looks almost identical to the craft in that video and the craft they were testing and experimenting on. Crazy, huh? So, like, there was a photo taken in Provo, Utah of a possible UFO
Yeah.
back in 1966. In
Okay.
2014, this guy was at this conference in San Francisco saying, "Yeah, this is what's going on." And my colleague also has seen it and says that that picture that was taken in Provo is the same. It's the same one, same aircraft.
Hmm.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. You're sending me into a frenzy in my mind.
And I'm definitely we're gonna post the pictures, okay? We're
Yeah.
gonna post a picture of the beam that they saw above Dugway that gave out that green light. And I'm gonna post a picture of the UFO.
Okay.
Which, by the way, all these things were very hard to find, so be appreciative.
Right.
I had to really dig for the evidence. All right. So nowadays, with all that has happened, Dugway is considered the most secretive and controversial place in Utah, which to me says a lot.
Is it tied with freaking never mind.
I know. I think we're both. Yeah. Anyway. According to an article on Deseret News, someone had witnessed seeing a convoy of large trucks hauling large pieces of equipment covered in tarps. And they said that the equipment looked like it was looking like they were trying to hide it on the trucks. Like it's not like they were trying to protect it from damage, it's like hiding what it is.
Hmm.
One of the trucks was hauling a disc-shaped object that was about 30 feet wide.
Oh.
These trucks were being escorted by armed men walking on foot, and the trucks were led into a large hangar. Later, a massive concrete wall was built around that hangar. So,
That
there's a
tells you something, I think.
there's a man named Dave Rosenfeld, but he goes by Alien Dave.
Okay.
He is, yeah, proudly. Okay.
Nice.
So Alien Dave is the president of Utah UFO Hunters, and he has a website that is very helpful, by the way,
Okay.
when it comes to alien tracking.
Okay.
um, especially in Utah. Okay.
How did this
So
guy learn how to track
he has a
aliens?
website. He's self-taught.
Yeah, but if
I
aliens
don't know.
have technology, don't you think they could say, no, Alien Dave, you cannot track us?
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll go along with his thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings about aliens.
Guys, just put your tinfoil hats on for like 2 seconds and follow along. Okay.
Just humor us for a
All
second.
right. So Alien Dave, yeah, just right. He has a website. Okay. Uh it's called aliendave.com. and and it's dedicated to tracking possible alien activity in or around Dugway, but mostly just Utah.
Okay.
His website can lead you down several rabbit holes. So if you have the time, I would definitely check it out. And I'm talking like there's probably 30 tabs on the side of different topics, like all kinds of things.
Okay.
Um, let's see. And then also too, like he has references. So like if you're looking at something, he's like, and see, you can find it on their website here. And it's like, holy shit.
Okay.
So all I have to say is that everything that I did look at, I went and tried to research in other places other than his website, and it wasn't inaccurate. Like he was spot on almost the entire time.
Okay.
So he's not a total Looney Tune. So according to his website, there have
Hmm.
been reportings, there have been reports of UFO crashes in Utah.
Okay.
On May 20th of 1953, witnesses reported seeing a large craft that was described as being several hundred feet in diameter. They said that it clipped the top of a hillside about 175 miles south of Dugway, and it looked like it was trying to land. The incident was reported, and soon after, the US government agency flew over the area and took photos and saw that whatever it was did leave a triangular imprint in the hillside. The
Okay.
imprint was about 4,400 feet wide and about 2,700 feet long. And they were able to confirm that it definitely happened. They just don't know what it was. So to this day, this area is considered important on many military sources. This crash may seem random, but when you look further into it, It happened only 3 miles away from the U.S. Forest Service's Desert Ranch Experimental Station, aka the DRES, it's DRES.
Okay.
And it's believed by a lot of theorists that the craft was relocated and possibly buried in Dugway.
Okay.
So they believe that this aircraft was trying to land slash park to visit this DRES research station, and then later was relocated and hidden in Dugway. And I'm telling you guys, you can find more information on aliendave.com because he has like it's like a blog post written about each one of these subjects, and like he goes into his own theories plus what other people have said. I'm just trying to stick to like the facts and then what some people think.
Yeah.
But there's a lot.
Oh,
On February 21st, on February 21st, 2005, in South Salt Lake, there was a craft that was described to be about 30 feet wide, and it said that it showed up so quickly. Sorry, one second. I wrote this really weird. Let me start over.
Okay.
On February 21st of 2005 in South Salt Lake, an aircraft also crashed in that area.
In South Salt Lake?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was described to be 30 feet wide and showed up so quickly that it never showed up on anybody's radar. The report said that there was life inside of the aircraft as well. I tried to look into this and there are no news articles about it. I can only find on Alien Dave's website. But like if you try to Google it, there is nothing about it. Nothing.
Huh.
Which is weird that we've also never heard of it either, right?
Yeah.
Also, according to Alien Dave, people have also come forward and claimed to have seen reptilian-like creatures working amongst them in the secret labs at Dugway. What? They said that these creatures would shapeshift from being a reptilian-like creature to regular human.
Let's go get a job at Dugway.
Right?
Not like I'd qualify for anything.
Right. It's like, I'll just like sweep the floor.
Yeah, I'll sweep around. I just gotta check out what the freak is going on.
Right.
My mind is spinning. I'm not trying to be quiet. Like I'm not
just to soak it in. And it's like
my brain is like, what is real?
So thanks to aliendave.com, I stumbled across a Utah-based alien abduction story.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This encounter was published in an article on cityweekly.net. The year was 1984. The month was June, and the time was 11 p.m.
When you say it like that, it makes it sound so much more eerie for some reason.
I tried to write it different from the article because I'm like, I don't want to like copy it, but I'm like, I got to make this still interesting and not boring. So here's my take on it. Okay.
So you change how you say the date. The year was this. The month was this. Yes. I'm trying not to plagiarize.
Yeah.
The name was this.
Yeah, I didn't copy.
If you reference it, you can basically read off it.
Okay.
Well, but you can do you. It's fine.
I already rewrote it. Okay.
Okay.
Just follow along.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So it was June.
Okay.
June 11th of 1984. The city was Mapleton, Utah, and the setting was I can't even take myself seriously.
Did you learn how to not plagiarize? Like,
I think it's probably like 3 a.m. at this point. I'm just like, I can't. It's like
you're trying to make your essay like as many words as possible.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Okay, go
All
ahead.
right. Just let me know if it starts to not make sense.
Okay.
Let me start over. So, this came from an article on cityweekly.net, but this is my take on it.
Okay.
It was 1984. The month was June and it was 11 p.m.
Okay. Oh.
In Mapleton, Utah. A 25-year-old Don Anderson was sitting in his mother's basement living room with his 4-year-old son, watching him play with his toys. When suddenly a gray being appeared in the middle of the room.
Ah,
Don was quoted saying, and Don is the guy who this happened to, right?
okay. Yeah.
His name is Don Anderson. So he was quoted in the article saying, "We looked at each other. He pointed at my son as if we were as if he were asking to take him." End quote. Don says he was able to communicate with this alien telepathically, and he said, "Okay, let me go with him though, so he won't be afraid."
The guy said, "Okay, you can take my kid, but let me come with."
Yeah. He said after that a blue light filled the room. So after he said that, a blue light filled the room and he grabbed his son's hand and they jumped through the light and they were transported to the grass outside. Don said they moved toward a saucer shaped craft that was across the street and was hovering at least 60 feet in the air. Don described the craft as being at least 30 feet wide and had red and blue lights that flashed like strobe lights.
Okay.
He said he remembered looking around the neighborhood, noticing that these lights were flashing onto everyone's houses, and he was wondering why no one was waking up or coming outside to see what the bright lights were for. There was no one around, not even a sound. He said it was really eerie that there was no dogs barking or no crickets chirping. All he
It's
could
just
hear was the
silent.
humming of the ship.
Uh,
Don said he also remembered that as they went under the telephone wires toward the ship, he had a complete tingling sensation all over his body, like somehow his body was being charged by electricity. He said he remembered that the inside of the ship was polished and shiny like stainless steel. And according to the article, Don said he remembers walking alongside a tall blonde woman that seemed familiar to him, who he was also communicating with telepathically. He remembers asking her if he would be able to heal his serious stomach disorder that I guess he was dealing with at the time. And she responded with a laugh, and her eyes told him, "Don't worry, you'll be okay." Uh, he and this blonde woman walked for a bit, and then they found Don's son, who was in a room with another young boy, and each of them were standing under what looked like metal columns and were holding what looked like handheld shower massagers. Don said that his son had that thing in his hand and would hold it above his head and like click a button, and it looked like blue light came out of it, or sorry, it looked like blue lightning came out of it and it tickled the boys and made them giggle. And so they were just playing with these little things and like blasting each other with this like blue lightning stuff.
okay.
Don said he felt like they were in a safe environment. Or so he was like watching them and he's like, okay, well, I feel safe. And as soon as he felt that, Don said within a blink of an eye, he and his son were suddenly back in the basement living room at his mom's house. Except the room was filled with elderly strangers who stood motionless as if they were in a trance listening to the hum of the ship. It went from like 0 to 60. He could see the screen door was left wide open, and across the street he could still see the ship that was hovering above the houses. He looked at the time and it said it was 6 a.m. So 7 hours had passed. Then suddenly he found himself waking up in his bed. The end.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What in the freaking what?
So,
Oh,
one more thing. There's a really fun website that I stumbled across, which you can probably also spend a lot of time on. It's okay, it's nuforc.org / we oh sorry / web reports / ndxlut.html. It is a place where you can report any UFO sightings. And
Oh.
you can also see what other people have reported. And I looked, and you can filter it by state. So you
Yeah.
can go to like your state and see, okay, what's been reported recently. So Utah, and I looked, and on June, so the most recent one was on June 22nd of this year.
Oh my gosh.
There were 7 reports that day, and they were
June
all from
what?
different cities.
June what?
June 22nd of 2022. That was the most recent.
And there were 7?
There were 7, and they were all different cities. I didn't put like specifics in there because they were all like, they're all really long. But you guys can definitely look into it and see what's going on in your town.
I don't know if I want to know what's going on in my town. I'm
Yeah,
kind
there's a
of
lot.
like I'm kind of like, okay, what is life right now?
One thing about that website, if I remember right, it also shows you like the statistics, like the numbers for your area. So it said that Utah, the most reports come from Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City, huh?
Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, Salt Lake City, and then number 2 is St. George.
Really?
Yep.
I would have guessed Twilla.
Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
Weird,
Dang.
huh?
Dang, dude. I didn't expect to feel this way after this story, but I feel very uncertain about life.
Yeah, I know. I know the feeling.
I have a feeling and I don't know. I don't know. Didn't you sleep or have a night in Dugway and it was like super spooky?
Yeah, and I've been wondering if I should talk about that because it makes me nervous now knowing all this stuff. I'm like, what if the military comes after me?
Well, if they didn't go after all the people that were saying like what's actually there, then
Yeah, but a lot of them were like anonymous.
okay, but they
I'm
can't
not anonymous.
they can't come after you for saying like this is what I experienced. You didn't see anything.
It's true, I didn't. Okay, guys, do you want to hear what happened? I
Yeah.
haven't told the story on the pod yet, have I?
No, I was surprised you didn't say it in your bring your own booze episode.
Yeah. Okay, guys, here's what happened. This is when I went and got these geodes, okay? So me and my friend Callie, we were like, let's go rock hounding. And I was like, yeah. And I said, hey, Dugway is not that far. And I heard you can just like show up and just do what you want and get geodes. And so we're like, yeah, let's do it. And I said, hey, we could probably camp there too. She's like, yeah, probably. So we went. It was late May of 2020, I think, or 2021. Was it last year? It was last year, 2021. So May
Okay.
2021. Okay. Anyway, so we go to Dugway, we find our rocks, and we camp. Well, the campsite that we found was right next to the geobeds, but later I found out that you're not supposed to camp there. And like we thought it was okay because there was like a little fire pit and stuff, but apparently it's for
Oh.
like day use. Like,
Oh.
but we were like, oh, sweet. It's like a little campground, like right here.
Yeah.
And then later people were like, wait, you camped there? You're not supposed to camp there. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, were
Anyway,
there signs?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Like I
I don't think I
base
was
every
looking for them.
decision in my life off signs, which is funny
Right.
because I got my car towed the other day.
You did?
Yes.
Were you parked in a no parking
I
area?
was parked in a apartment event parking right next to the visitor parking and there was no
Oh,
event happening and my car got towed literally 20 minutes before I was leaving the place.
seriously?
And it cost me $260 to get my car out of the tow yard, and it was there for maybe half an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't think that they would call unless you're there for like a few hours, you know?
Well, I was there for 3 hours because I was getting my hair done,
Uh-huh.
and they just like target apartment buildings because like if you're parked in the wrong place, then they can tow you.
I guess it's how
Freaking
they make their money.
Yeah, freaking stupid. And so Parker and his wife had to go and freaking take me to the tow yard, wait there with me forever to get my car back.
That sucks, dude.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about
it was
that.
really shitty. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Signs are important. Read them and follow their instructions.
Right. That's the lesson that we've learned.
Yeah.
I didn't look for any signs, so I don't know. So this is what happened to me
Okay.
in Cali. So we were camping and we had our dogs with us. This makes me so nervous to talk about it because I don't know what happened. Okay.
Okay. Well,
So I might sound crazy. It might have been nothing. And it might have been military people trying to scare us. That's what some people on the internet say. They're like, it's probably the military literally seeing you guys camp there and trying to scare you out,
oh,
which it worked.
yeah.
Okay, so we were camping. The sun just went down. We go inside our tents. Okay. We're
Uh-huh.
in the middle of nowhere. There's no one around. Okay. Nobody, no camps, no cars, nobody's around. And we start hearing something with heavy feet walking in circles around our tent. Okay.
Ugh.
And we're like, okay, maybe it's a cougar or like a mountain lion or something,
Yeah.
because we had food with us and dogs. So maybe.
Yeah.
So we just listen and I'm like, I don't know. So we get freaked out and I click the panic button on my car to make the horns go off and stuff.
Yeah.
And I do that. And then we hear as if it ran away and up the hill. And we hear like rocks slide down. So like, okay, it's probably an animal.
Yeah.
But right as I clicked or right as I turned it off, headlights turned off down or turned on down the road. Big headlights turned on towards our camp. And I peep my head out like our ends of the window and I look.
Uh-huh.
I see like maybe Jeep or SUV headlights down the road a little bit, but they're
Uh-huh.
pointed directly at us. So it's like, first of all, where did they come from?
Yeah.
Second of all, what was around us,
Yeah.
And then their lights turn off. And me and Callie are just sitting there and we're like, okay, like, should we stay? Should we go? I don't know. And I can't remember if we heard them drive away or not, but we at least felt safe enough to fall back asleep or to fall asleep that night.
Okay.
So we fell asleep. Now, this is what happened to me that night. And then I'll tell you what happened in the morning is sometime middle of the night. I don't know what time it was. I woke up to a sound that scared the hell out of me. And I was so scared that all I could do was open my eyes, but I was too scared to move. I
Okay.
wasn't sure what the hell. It was really loud and it sounded like something was above our camp and it sounded like it was hovering and it sounded like it was metal on metal in a circular motion going shing 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 like that but really loud above our camp, like really loud. And I remember like I was laying there, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Did
Like,
Callie hear it?
so somehow I fell back asleep. Then in the morning, we're doing whatever. And I'm like, hey, did you like sleep okay last night? And she's like, I don't know. I had a hard time staying asleep. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I also heard a really weird sound last night. Her eyes went so big. And she's like, what did you hear? And that's when both of us were like, if we say the same thing and like both freak out, we're going to lose our minds.
Yeah.
I described it. I'm like, well, it sounded like something really loud and big was like flying over us or something. And she's like, did it sound like it was metal? And I'm like, yeah. And that's when both of us were like, what the hell was that?
Oh my gosh.
We still don't know. Like, don't know. But
Oh,
then yeah,
that
that's it.
is the scariest. thing ever.
But she said she felt the same way. Like she was like she woke up and like opened her eyes, but felt too afraid to move.
And the
You
dogs
know?
didn't react?
No, not that I remember. Not that I remember. Because I feel like I would have remembered that.
Yeah. Huh.
And how we were able to fall back asleep after being that terrified, you know?
Yeah. What the heck? I would have been out of there just knowing someone was around my tent because I think seeing the SUV, I would have thought like we're not alone and like people are around our tent. So I would have been like,
Yeah.
it's time to go because people are like, I would have
Or
been worried about getting like attacked or something by a person.
yeah. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to figure out the timeline. So I think we were there for 2 nights. And I think the first night was the sound that we heard. Now that I'm sorry, I'm re-remembering it. The second night is when we heard something walking around our tent. I hit the panic alarm, headlights turned on. I think that's when we left. We did leave in the middle of the night to
Oh
come
yeah,
home.
because I remember you saying I couldn't remember
Yeah.
what trip that was, but yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That was it. We actually left after we heard those footsteps. We are like, okay, we're not welcome here. And like, why is there headlights over there?
Well, you think if it
And
was
where did they come from?
military, they would have come over and said, "Hey, you guys can't sleep here."
Right.
Like, why would they scare you away? Why wouldn't they just say, "Hey, this isn't a campground. It's only for day use."
Right. I don't know.
Because I think that would be stupid unless they were like they do that for fun.
Right.
but, but like I
Yeah.
kind of feel like they would just say, "Hey, get out of here."
Right. You would think. Anyway, yeah, it was super freaky. And I wonder if Callie, if you're listening to this, I would love to have you, if you want to come on the pod and tell your side of that story, because there might be more details that I'm forgetting. Because I feel like I just like shut it out. Like, so if you think about it, that's when they abduct you and, and stuff, you know?
Right.
Like, oh my gosh. Because I do remember after that, I was looking into it and like people were saying, like, yeah, if you like take geodes with you or like rocks or artifacts with you from like places like that, like they can track you that way, you know?
That sounds like a bunch of hooey.
It kind of does, but it made me paranoid. So I'm like, I'm just not going to talk about it.
I would say if anything, it would be like spiritual would could follow you from the geodes, but I wouldn't say that the
Yeah.
freaking aliens would. I feel like aliens could track you just
They already know my address.
they already know where you live. But
Right.
it seems like they crash a lot, so they gotta figure that out.
I know, right. I
Explore
forgot
it.
to also connect the dots that you know how this is episode 25,
Yeah.
area 52, 2552.
Whoa.
What?
If you
Yeah.
flip it around, this is area 25.
Also, I found that area 51 originally was mined for silver. That's originally what that area was for. They say. They say.
Yeah.
But also
Silver.
tied in silver.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice. A way to
Yeah.
bring it all home, Katie. Thanks for listening to episode 25. You can find us online.
On the interweb,
You can find us on the
especially at
interwebs.
hauntandcold.com.
Yeah, tell us your stories. Look at our references. We
Mm-hmm.
have merch on there.
Yep.
Um,
Social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
all kinds of places and things to do.
Yep. And if you can't find us, just come back and listen to us here
And we'll
in
tell
a
you
couple weeks.
again at the very
Yeah.
end of another episode.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
Well,
Okay, well, thanks for listening. Mm,
okay, bye.